We don't touch it. We don't touch it. We don't touch it. We don't touch it.
Let's talk about why every time this dad says, you don't touch it, the child goes to touch it. What is happening in the brain? And what could dad do differently to get the outcome that he wants, which is the child to not touch the thing? So when you give a direction to a child, the child processes in their brain like an image. So what is the image that you want to conjure? In this moment, the dad is saying, don't touch it. I think it's a pipe or something. And so the image that the child is conjuring is a pipe and touching a pipe, and then he has to unthink that. Now I need the opposite of that, or I need something that's not that. So it's a kind of like a multi-step process he has to go through. It would be easier for him to process it if dad just told him what to do with his hands. And this little guy's pretty little, so he could just say hands on head or hands in pockets or hands up here, right? So that there's only one thing that the child has to think. Like, okay, I just heard that. Hands go on head, so I'm going to put my hands on my head. I don't have to like unthink the image conjured in my brain by the language that they just spoke to me. Now, all that cognitive work that the kid has to do to think of something else after you've told them not to do something, that's one of the reasons that the language structure not doesn't actually develop until like between 2.5 and 3.5, and is less existent when a child is under stress. And so before 3.5, I want to be really careful to always tell my child what to do instead of what not to do. But even after 3.5, if my child is experiencing stress, learning something new in a sensory environment that is overwhelming, those are all cues to me that giving my child information about what needs to happen in the positive is going to mean less work, less cognitive burden on their brain, and that is going to make them more likely to follow me. Now, the brain processes tone before it processes language. So when you come into contact with somebody, the first thing that you're doing before you're attending to like the words they're saying is considering their tone. It is considering like how hunched up their shoulders are. Is there a wrinkle on their forehead? Are they mad? You're looking at all of these things that are tone and that let you know like what they mean before you're tending to the word. So that happens in a split second, a split hundredth of a second. And then the processing of the actual words takes longer. Now, if the split hundredth of a second information is like, this is concerning, they are unhappy, this is worrisome, I'm doing something wrong, that's going to send the system like into overdrive or into dysregulation. When your system is dysregulated, you're going to have a really hard time processing language because that part of the brain it's like not online as much. What's online is like, I need to keep myself safe, right? And so I might start to get reactive. And this is another reason to really check your tone. Now, one way to send calming nervous system vibes to your own system is by using positive language. So this is a tool for the child, but also the parent. So it's like up, hands on head. And I'm saying that with like a assumed competence. Like, I know you're going to do this and I'm so confident. That helps me keep my nervous system in check, which is going to make my tone feel more like I can do this and we're okay to the child. So there's so many reasons here. I could go on and on, but go watch that video. This is why we need to use positive opposites. What are positive opposites? Positive opposites are telling the child what to do instead of what not to do. Okay, you do have to be a little bit careful when you're giving a positive opposite that not only is it framed positively, but that it also speaks to what the child needs in that moment. So sometimes people will say like, my kid is jumping on the couch and I say couches are for sitting and my kid keeps jumping. What am I doing wrong? Well, you need to address why they're jumping in your positive opposite. So a different positive opposite that might have a different impact. And may also need to be paired with another tool might be like up, we jump on trampolines and then I'm swooping my kid off the couch and putting them on a trampoline and I'm going to jump there with them. So that would be like if I knew that the child was jumping on a couch because they needed to move their body and to jump. So if you feel like I'm doing a positive opposite and it's not working, check your tone. Make sure that it doesn't include the words no, not, stop, and don't. And then have a think about whether or not your positive opposite really speaks to your child's experience. And do they need a different kind of instruction? And it may be a different kind of instruction and it can be a different positive opposite. Let me know in the comments what you typically say no, not, don't, and stop to, and let's work together to try to help each other, think of what are some of the positive ways to get our children to do what we want them to do instead of asking them to do all this cognitive work of unthinking what we're telling them not to do.